Hey there, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. With an absolutely stunning surprise for Donald Trump and the US administration, the talks in Kremlin failed to achieve any progress. So let's wrap this round up and move to talk about the other news that went under the radar, yet in my perspective, are a lot more important to the outcome of the war. So I'm not going to rub it in. Let's just quickly touch on the talks and move on. Because everyone that follows this channel knows all too well that the talks would not lead to absolutely anything. And I even made a video right before the talks happened. And surprising to absolutely no one, it absolutely ended in a disaster for United States, putting them in an even worse light as compared to before. And especially the points that were made by the Russian delegation after the talks were extremely spicy to kind of put additional salt on the wound for the US delegation, as the representatives of Russia stated that the talks didn't really discuss anything in particular. They were just trying to agree on general terms rather than talking in details. It's important because US delegation came to talks with Russia while breaking apart the document of 28 points into 4 different documents that they wanted to talk very much on the substance of the matter. Yet, as stated by Russians, they never got even close to talking on the substance. I'm almost expecting that Putin talked about the Rurik dynasty and the Pechenegs and some history of the Eastern Europe during all of that time. Also, by the way, he was super late and he had Kushner and Witkoff wait for him, because that's how dictators show superiority. In any case, this sort of puts this track to rest, at least for this round. We know that it will always come back because Russia is finding value in what they are getting in every round. So let's just move on with no hard feelings to anyone that potentially hoped for something. Putin has been pretty loud in his rhetoric during this time, by the way, while he was trying to talk down the United States, saying, oh, I'm totally ready for peace. Yeah, let's just do some 28 points, whatever. He actually has been pretty much warmongering on every other platform that is available to him. Firstly, he was lying about the situation on the front line. This has been debunked non-stop. I have been debunking it. Everyone has been debunking it. But he claimed that obviously he captured stuff on the front line that he hasn't captured. Pokrovsk is not captured. Vovchansk is not captured. That's pretty much the rule of the game. It's funny that Kyiv denies needs to be put in advance because this is the Kyiv Independent. But if it would be any Western media, then they would just skip the Kyiv denied part, and then everyone just believe, oh my God, Russia advancing so far on the front line. No, Putin is just reading you his propaganda nonsense, and people still believe it. More than that, the Putin statements and ambitions have not really changed. What I talked about in the last video is still true. In the interview, the latest interview that Putin gave in Russian, he stated that no matter what, they will capture and secure the territories of Donetsk and Novorossiya. Now, if you don't know what Novorossiya is, then let me introduce you to this map. So this is supposed Novorossiya. This is a part of the Russian Empire territory, and Putin is claiming that he wants to have Novorossiya. Now, here, you might notice something interesting, because Russia controls Crimea, Russia controls parts of Donetsk, and Russia controls almost all of Luhansk. And there is also Kherson and Zaporizhia that Russia is controlling, right? Well, you notice that it also includes Kharkiv region, Dnipro region, Mykolaiv, and Odessa, the whole southern part of Ukraine. So Putin, in his the most recent statement, has said that he will capture Novorossiya at whatever the cost in any case. I mean, it's just an additional spit like towards anyone that is still believing their lies. And I'm pretty sure this will go completely under the radar for a lot of the representatives of the Donald Trump's administration, like it never happened and Putin didn't make those statements. But thankfully, guys, you are here to at least hear it out and be aware that, yeah, Putin really changed nothing. More importantly, Putin also thought that it was a good idea to threaten Europe because why not? And we're going to come back to this in a little bit because some of these threats are unfortunately working. He has been telling lies about the fact that, yes, Russia is this big, strong. Remember, the biggest weapon that Russia is having is their propaganda machine, and the way that they're both using the propaganda machine and the same way that our media is unfiltering that propaganda and just putting it up at the face value. The truth of the matter is the cost of war for Russia in Ukraine is stupendously enormous. So while Putin can hope for some kind of activity, try to go and maybe undercut and pinch NATO someplace, it is most definitely not ready for war against NATO and Europe right now. But the problem is that if Europeans will accept this and take this for at the face value and start making decision based on the fact that, oh, Russia big and strong, they can fight us, then it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we already see some outlines of it. Now, it's not a secret for anyone that the Baltic states, where I am from, I'm Latvian, that the Baltic states are the first on the chopping block. And just recently, we got statements from Sergei Lavrov, the horse in a trench coat that is also acting as a foreign minister for Russia. He has been telling stories about the fact that inside of the Baltic states, Russians are being suppressed, that discriminatory laws are being supported, yada, 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 essentially parroting the rhetoric that Russia has been using specifically in the eve of attacking against Ukraine. Now, everyone in the Baltic states are fully aware that they will be coming after them. Russia will be coming after them right after it is done with Ukraine. The problem for the Baltic states is that a lot of their military budgets are actually diverted towards helping Ukraine because they know it. However, the scenario in which Russia, for example, will try to do something in the Baltic states and then NATO will just have talks and deep concerns, then it could be a possibility and a window of opportunity, especially with the undecisive US administration, what Russia is seeing with these talks happening with Witkoff and Kushner, that potentially there is a window of opportunity here before US will be in a position to respond to any kind of provocation. In the meantime, Putin is using the positive momentum of the public campaign that he got from the United States for free. He is now traveling to India to reestablish deeper connections, to help find what channels they can use to circumvent the sanctions, so India will continue buying Russian oil, Russian resources, and more than that, they are eager to get more Indians on the front line fighting for Russia. We already know of some organizations establishing their presence inside of India. More than that, Russia is planning at opening a propaganda channel inside India in Indian, which will most definitely be used to promote Kremlin narratives and push forward additional propaganda to get more Indians to join for Russia. Russia is dragging the whole world into this conflict. It's just the whole world just kind of goes along with this. And we're still trying to figure out whether or not we want or don't want to help Ukraine. And now looping back on the topic of believing Russian propaganda. Belgium, unfortunately, is very quickly becoming the Russian wet dream, as they are blocking one of the most simplest and straightforward activities that one can imagine, is that the aggressor of a genocidal war should pay for that genocidal war, should pay for the atrocities and destruction that it brings. Yet that's not what the Belgian Prime Minister thinks. because Belgian Prime Minister is stating that Russia losing in Ukraine is a complete illusion and not even desirable. Now, a lot of the news kind of stop here and don't go into details and don't go into quotes. So I'm going to quote the things that he said, so I address specifically them. It is not even desirable for them, for Russia, to lose and for instability to take hold in a country that possesses nuclear weapon. Russia could also confiscate certain Western assets. Euroclear has 16 billion in Russia. All Belgian factories in Russia could also be seized, De Wever said. Adding, and what if Belarus and China also confiscated Western assets? We've considered all of this? No, we haven't. I asked my European colleagues if they were willing to pool the risks incurred by Belgium. Only Germany said it was ready to do so, De Wever said, adding that without this pooling of resources, I will do everything I can to block the case. Everything. Situations like these are when I fully feel justified for my positions, my outrages, my yellings, and I feel justified in the work that I'm doing, even if the fact that I'm repeating my argument again and again and again and again. Because these things keep repeating. We are being conditioned by this caliber of politicians that are making statements like this. And to illustrate my point, I will take things a bit biblically here. What differentiates a human from a wild animal? In my perspective, it is the fact that we can understand the difference between good and evil. We can understand what is the right thing to do from what is the wrong thing to do. So looking at the points that are made here, we can very clearly see what is the right thing to do. The aggressor is destroying a neighboring country that does not provoke it in any way, that wants only one thing, peace, and is able to even go to some kind of a concessions, potentially, maybe. Yet, we are not ready to commit to do the right thing. Why? It's not even desirable to take hold because the country has nukes. So apparently, now if the country has nukes, it means it can just do whatever it takes. It's a very silly statement that basically states, well, Russia has nukes, therefore it should be allowed to do whatever it takes. And we should just kind of forget. Ukraine just needs to give away some of their territories, make this go away, put the blindfolds on, and then we will just continue as usual. We will continue trading with Russia, making more money. Because, by the way, we still have factories in Russia that are operating and supporting Russian economy. And what would be happening to us if Russia would seize those factories that are working in Russia and paying Russia taxes to support Russian economy so they can fight the war against Ukraine? And especially dishonest is the statement that he asked the colleagues about the issues that Belgium is having with these funds, and it was supposedly never addressed, and no one supposedly shared the burden with him. But that's not true. We heard statements from Norway, we heard statements from Germany, we heard statements from EU. Even now, European Union actually, after these statements, came out and said that European Union is ready to go forward, borrowing the 90 billion euros in funds and supporting the Belgium request and so on. Yet Belgium says, nah. So it's just a charade. We're just being dragged along for this ride right over here with the Prime Minister of Belgium basically saying, it's like, nope, not enough. Whatever you do is still not enough. Doesn't matter. Still too much risks. Don't care. And this is why it is so important for us all to understand. We are truly in a very deep shit in Europe. Mostly because politicians like this, and I'm zeroing Belgium out here right now because it is the critical point for Belgium to do something, right? It's essentially when you need to do something that will actually kind of put you sort of at risk, because otherwise it's easy. Just like, Ukraine will do everything. Ukrainians can go die, whatever. Because in his perspective, it's like, okay, we helped a little bit. We have sent some planes. We helped with securing some weapons, which is great. But it's all just part of the job. A lot more needs to be done. But a lot more means like, oh, yeah, but then we would need to take these risks and so on. And this is what I say. This is what defining right from wrong means. We in Europe have been conditioned to live in some kind of a gray zone where there is no good things or bad things, that everything is sort of a morally gray, that it doesn't matter if the genocide is happening anywhere while it's not there, while it's not on my news and it's not influencing my political career. So the problem of this is that unfortunately war will come for us. If we do not support Ukraine, if Ukraine will lose, then not only we will pay more, much more. In this study, for example, the estimates are that it's going to be 2 times more, and it's taking into account like how much money we will be spending to reinforce the border with Russia, because we're not going back to the 2022. We are not going back to that world. We're going back to the world where the axis of evil of Russia, China, and now they're dragging India in it as well, are trying to essentially build the anti-democratic, anti-Western axis that is going after every single of our values. If we do not stop it now, I mean, it's already kind of late. We already failed. Like United Nations turned into a joke. Now it's even worse than that. Now we are standing before literally the last moment where we need to put up, or we're going to get swallowed by the atrocities of war, and fires of war will not be quenched. And it's understandable that it's very hard for a lot of Central and Western Europe to connect with the imminent danger coming from Russia, because I don't think they consider that it's going to be their sons and daughters dying and fighting on the front lines. I mean, we have such a high technology, right? Except that's not what we're seeing on the front line at all. We see time and time again, whenever there's exercises between Ukrainians and NATO, Ukrainians are absolutely slapping NATO powers around. And Russia is not far-fetched. The difference is that Russia has the will and commitment to go for it. So doing the right thing now is not only for the benefits, not only to preserve the money, to be safe from the consequences. It is to support the vision of the future. And that is why I am feeling absolutely vindicated. And that is why I want to say a huge thank you to Serhiy that sent me, and I'm going to share the link for the Russian frozen assets page, where it goes in details why it is important to do so, why it is important to support Ukraine. So check it out, share it, and if you're Belgium, consider participating in the campaign. We'll try to share more and more information in the coming days. It is most crucial right now because 16th of December will be when decision will be made. And if you want to support Ukraine with the best bang for buck option, it is to participate in a fundraiser campaign where there's going to be drones delivered to Ukrainian armed forces. Because all of our fears, lack of vision, the inability of our politicians do anything can be eliminated if Ukraine just wins. So supporting Ukrainian win is crucial for us, because then we and our democracies will not be tested. Right now, Ukraine is making the greatest sacrifice, so we should at least contribute as much as we can. So thank you for everyone that already supported. We're almost 54,500. And remember, if you're in the United States, Art Wine reached out to me and said that you can buy yourself some nice sparkling wine from Ukrainian city of Bakhmut that has been imported in US. They want to sell their stocks. It's been pretty hard for them to sell, but they are stating that they will contribute portions of the profits to the fundraiser campaign. And to finish on a very positive note, Ukraine was able to bring back 1,859 abducted children from Russia. It is truly an atrocity for the ages to just steal children and just give them away to some random parents. It is just beyond me. I don't understand how human beings or anyone that is closely even related to human beings can do so. Again, potentially Russians are just the wild animals if we come back to that. Thank you so much for watching. Continue supporting Ukraine. Trust the Ukrainian armed forces. I love you. Slava Ukraini. And I will see you next time.